We're ready.
All right. We'll call to order the Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 Public Works Committee meeting. Do a roll call, please.
Jenny Wook, City Council.
Bob Heim, City Council.
Maureen Whitaker, staff.
Jeff Langhelm, staff.
Jim Franich, council. Approval of the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of the February 9th, 2021 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, well, we've have no old business. We've got 3 new business items. We are going to, if it's all right with the rest of the committee, we will postpone the art installation item number 1 till we get Charlie Glock Jackson here. And we'll go on with the impact fee reports.
Okay. Hopefully all of you had a chance to look at the impact fee reports. I'm going to bring them up on the screen one at a time, just in case anybody has any questions. And if not, we'll just move right along. I'm going to start with the traffic impact fees. This might be out of order with the way you received them, but traffic impact fee. Hopefully that's on your screen now.
Yes.
Oops, sorry. Okay. So as you can see, last year we had 3 projects that were supposed to pull money from the traffic impact fee fund, and only 2 of them did. And we ended up, we were anticipating spending about 1.4 million out of impact fees, and we spent only 418,000 because we didn't complete all of the projects. So those same projects are going to be pulling money out of the impact fee this year, but we're still have a healthy ending fund balance for impact fees. Any questions?
I'm assuming that the expenses that were in 2020 were for the Stinson Harborview, Stinson overlay, that was for design?
Yes.
Yeah, that was, yeah, Bob Heim, sure. I was aghast at, we got almost $500,000 out of that school up on Harbor Hill. Called, between that one and the other one in there, made up about 1/3 of our total revenue for last year in terms of TIF. And I think the message here is that don't count on this level of TIF, given that we're not going to build 2 more schools, I don't think, for quite some time, or let's say occupy two new schools in the coming months. And the other thing is the builds, you look beyond the courtyard of Scansey and there's only about 2 really left. And that's the one up on Burnham. There's 2 up on Burnham, the Harbor Winds, which is Manana, and then the one that just started up there, North Creek. And beyond that, I don't see a whole heck of a lot in terms of residences that are on the horizon. So I would expect the TIF funds to drop significantly over the next year or so. This may be the last really good year with Courtyard at Scansey and this North Creek and Harbor Winds development still in the making. But after that, I don't see much on the horizon.
I do want to mention we've got the Harbor Hill development still too, though, but that'll be coming up, but sometime later, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Are we talking about the village?
Village, yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to apologize for my tardiness. I get kicked out 3 times trying to get in, so I just want to make sure everybody knows I'm here. So thank you.
Okay. What was the Haven of Rest? Is that just their expansion?
What page was that, Councilman Franny?
3 of 5.
Can you bring that up, Jeff?
Yeah. Oh, can you see it on your screen?
You got page 1 right now, too.
Oh.
You got
Okay.
the front
All right. All right, here. How about
Here we
it?
go.
3 of 5, there you
Sorry.
go.
Thank you.
Some reason it paused the screen sharing.
Yep.
I can find that out. It's not, it would actually have to be a building permit that was issued for that. So they must have built something. I'm not sure what that is.
I understand they're expanding.
Right, but I didn't understand that they were expanding any of their structures.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong. It says
Well-
commercial, so I presume it's a permit for a commercial structure.
Yeah. Mo, would you write that that question down and connect with Amy Longren about that?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And what is the 2021 rate?
Same. Oh, no, it needs to be increased. It's going to be increased in April of 2021. That's in April, I've got to do, or at the end of March, end of this month, I've got to increase the school and transportation impact fees. I'm not sure what that'll be yet. I haven't looked yet.
Okay, if you could let us know that, please. I'm assuming it's going to be probably 1 or 2%.
Yeah, I'll have to check it. It all depends on what the
Yeah.
cost of living increases based on this federal labor and industries level.
I thought we were using not the cost of living. I thought we were using some other metrics about cost of projects.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry. I'll have to look at the code to see what it says for this one. It was probably off this Federal Highways Administration's cost of projects. I'll look. I'm thinking of school impact fees.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any further questions on the transportation impact fees?
Nope.
No.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. We'll move on to park or school, whichever one you want to do.
Okay, I'll move on to school impact fees. Okay, there, can all of you see that?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay. So, school impact fees, this is more of a pass-through information, it's just informational, since that we don't spend the school impact fees. So this is just a report. And again, just to be clear, this isn't the calendar year like we do with our typical impact fees. This is with the school's actual fiscal year, which is September 1st through August 31st.
So the money just comes through us and we give it right to them.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So the information that's provided here in table 1 and table 2 is from the school district. Yep, and all these summary reports, and you might notice the impact fee revenues, 422,315, doesn't match exactly the end here, 418, 466, because we base it off of the date that the permit was paid. And there's always a delay. We don't hand that check over to the school district on September 1st. We cut a check later in September, so the amounts might not always match up exactly. I'm trying to find a way to have them match up so that we can account for that, but I haven't found a way yet. Just trying to work with accounting on that. Does that make sense?
So, go ahead, Councilmember Wood.
Can you explain the Discovery Portables at 29,000? Or
No.
did we spend that money? Did that
No.
money, how did that money get spent?
That's money, all table 1 and table 2 are provided from the school district. This is money that they spent for their capital project.
Thank
My
you.
guess is that in next year's impact fee report, you will see money spent on the 2 new schools that they just built, Pioneer and Swiftwater. I'm sure you'll see some money in there for those 2.
Great, thank you.
So does the interest go to them? Is it in our bank account or their bank account?
Their bank account. My understanding is we, the city, every month send a check over to the school district. We take it in, we hold it, and then we hand it off, and whatever is in that account goes right over to the school district. So we should not be earning interest on this.
Okay, so they had in their account, somewhere in their revenue section of their spreadsheet or their balance sheet, they have $2,578,578 sitting there.
Correct. If you'd like, I could bring up the report that the school district sends me each year. It's essentially table 1 and table 2 in a different format, if you'd like to see it.
Well, no, I mean, if the numbers are the same, the numbers are the same. So
Yeah, I just take their numbers and put them in our report.
well, with the amount of money that the state has been injecting into the school system through McCleary over the last several years, I know it's not open for discussion at this meeting, but I think that anywhere we can try and give people a break, as far as how much, when you start adding up you want to build a house here, you start adding up all these impact fees, connection fees, stormwater, wastewater, regular water, it's about $26,000.
Yep.
So I'll be real curious to see, especially in light of the CARES Act money that is coming out of the federal government last year. There's a ton of money going to the school districts out of this Build America or whatever this latest $1.9 trillion is. So that'll be a conversation. I guess I will bring it up to the full council at some point under council comments.
Okay.
Anybody else have any more questions on school impact fees?
No.
No, not here.
If we can figure out how to get a handling fee in that, it would be great.
Okay, Jeff, Park.
Okay, last one, park impact fees. Hopefully you can all see this now. This was pretty easy to do this year. We had 2 projects in the parks, the capital development project fund that was supposed to pull from park impact fees. Neither one moved forward in 2020, so it was a big zero in actual expenses. So all we did was collect impact fees and interest.
What is there an yearly escalation rate on this?
I'll double check. I don't think there is on park impact fees. The park impact fees haven't been updated for many years, for over a decade. And we were supposed to go through and do a park impact fee update last year. But when we engaged with the consultant on that, they looked at our capital project list that was in our pros plan and realized that based on that new pros plan, our park impact fee would actually be going down. So we said, well, let's hold off. Let's update our park recreation open space plan in 2021, adopt it for 2022, which we need to be doing now. And then with that new park impact or park recreation open space plan, it will renew or create a new list of parks capital projects that we can then use to reassess the park impact fee.
Well, how long has it been $1,500?
I can double check. I think it's been since 2010 or 2009 or something. And when we update the code for the new park impact fee, we will put an escalator in it, similar to what we've done with school and with transportation.
Great.
Yeah. That would be, I guess my question is that 106,000 there in PIF revenues down there in table 1.
Yes.
Is that typical of this particular fund, or is this a particularly bad year.
I can go back and look. I thought this was a particularly decent year. I can go back and look.
Okay,
If,
'Cause what-
I can do that actually, if, I don't know if Charlie's gonna make it to the meeting, but if she's there, I can, or comes in and does her presentation, I can report back before the end of the meeting.
that'd be fine. The
Jeff,
pump track didn't happen in 2020, and I don't think it got in 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct, it did not.
Yeah.
Good. A good delay.
Mo, you were gonna say something?
Yes, there are two people in the waiting room. I don't recognize, one is a phone number and one is a name. So I'm gonna have to find out.
Let me say, Roger Henderson is a member of the Parks Commission. So he might be just a listener. So I think he was just listening in, but he's a resident and member of the Parks Commission.
Okay, and I'm unable to tell by the phone number, so I'll double check who that is.
Okay, and I can check to see if that one phone number, if I have that in my contacts.
Okay, that'll be helpful.
You looking for panelists or audience?
Audience.
Okay.
I don't recognize the phone number.
Okay, does anybody have any further questions on the park impact fees?
No, thank you.
Just a comment at some point in time, because I've noticed this and I've noticed in the operation, the parks is huge and getting huger every year and will continue to be huge. It is obviously not self-supporting in any way, because you can't even dent what we're spending on parks by the fact that they operate, okay? It's just not there. At some point, this thing is going to have to slow down. Let me just be very blunt. I don't know how much longer we can afford to throw this kind of money at parks, particularly when you consider the operating expenses that go with these things. It's huge.
Yeah. Well, and before we jump off parks, I'll just say I just was quickly looking. 2018, the revenues for park impact fee were $121,500.
Wow.
In 2019, the park impact fee revenues were $60,000.
Yikes.
Wow.
That's from the last 2 years of reports.
Yikes.
Wow.
So
That just underlines what I said.
So Jeff, when you were mentioning that when it was reviewed by the consultant, and they looked at the pros plan, that is there some limiting factor that says how much we can charge?
what there is that we can only charge for the amount of the improvements that is proportionate or related to growth. So if we aren't going to have much, if our capital projects in our system are not directly related to growth, let's just say let's look at sports complex phase 1B. How much of that project will be growth related? Just for easy, let's just use easy math and say it's a $3 million project and 50% of it's growth related. So that's $1.5 million is all that we can put into the park impact fee column to collect for park impact fees. We can't put the whole $3 million in there.
You can only put 50%?
Using my example, yes, of 50% growth related.
Well, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, when you talk about growth related, I'm assuming you're talking about new residents. But when we have a park and we improve the park, that is growth of the park.
Yeah, but it's just like traffic impact fees. Remember when we went through that whole traffic impact fee discussion? We can only charge the proportion of the project that's growth related. The rest of it has to be, the rest of the funding has to come from other funding sources, not impact fee funds. Same thing with parks, and that's the RCW.
So where can we get money for maintenance of parks?
Right now, the only real source of revenue we have for maintenance of parks is general fund.
General funds, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Yeah, you take that and on the capital side, take HBZ and you put a massive dent.
Yeah, well, and honestly, I mean, these are discussions that we've had in the past, and it's just a good reminder that finding capital money is a lot easier than finding ongoing maintenance money. I mean, we've got HBZ, we've got grants, we've got impact fees, we've
Yep.
got TBD for transportation. And so finding that capital money, I think we've got some really solid sources for that. It's the ongoing maintenance revenues that are the big question mark, and that we need to be very cautious of when we look at capital project development in the capital improvement program. Do we want to keep building these projects, because then we have to maintain them and we won't have the funding sources to maintain them?
Yep.
Right, right.
So, I mean, I know we've talked about this before. I know it's hard to have that discussion in the middle of a budget discussion, because the residents, the general public say, hey, we want new, we want more. And it's hard to explain, well, we have to set aside a certain amount of our ongoing revenues for maintenance of our existing facilities. That's not glamorous. That's not going to help make people feel better, safer, have more fun.
This is a conversation I think that needs to happen often.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. So I brought these impact fee reports to the Public Works Committee. I'm looking for any suggestions, improvements. Right here, Councilmember Himes asked me a couple of questions. One of them was, what were the previous impact fee revenues for park impact fees? Councilmember Franich asked me about what's the new impact fee going to be for transportation. You saw that the copies I provided you are stamped draft. I need to provide those to City Council now. And so maybe at some point we have a work study session where I can provide these and then have that discussion about how we budget for ongoing maintenance. Is that where you'd like this to go?
Yeah.
I think so.
Just to sensitize everybody to what's going on here. Right now, I think everybody thinks it's free money.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't worry about, I've never seen, in fact, the business study of the Fisherman's Dock was the first time I saw dollar signs, net present value, as a matter of fact, in a parks presentation called, oh my gosh, here it goes. And they came to the answer, go small, don't go big, okay, from a finance standpoint, which I thought was a first. In fact, it was, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on plenty of record talking about, I believe that the city is park heavy. And I don't know, it seems to me the mood of this present council is, we don't have enough parks and we can't spend enough money on the parks. So I think that would be very, very helpful, Jeff, if you could give a short presentation to the whole council on the need to keep an eye on the long-term operating, the costs that are associated long-term to having all these parks.
Okay, well, tell you what, let me, I would like to do that before I get in the middle of budget season. And budget season starts for me in early July. I know that maybe Mo, between, if you can work with Josh Decker, and I'll make sure that the mayor and Mr. Larson are okay with this, but we'll tentatively schedule a study session probably in May to have this discussion on maintenance of capital projects or maintenance of infrastructure.
Is this something that we would want to have the Parks Commission sit in on as well, since they are parks?
I think so.
Yeah, we could. I mean, the topic's going to be all capital projects, but parks for sure, because I mean, we have these expenses with all of our infrastructure, not just and utilities. I mean, the utility rates, they help support those ongoing maintenance costs. So utilities are kind of a different animal to talk about, but really it's transportation and parks. Those are heavily relied upon in general fund to fund the ongoing maintenance.
Yep.
Well, thank you for this. I don't remember last year, I don't ever remember having this in-depth of a review or a discussion on what we just had over the last 20 minutes. So I don't know if it was staff or administration, but whoever it is, thank you for going through this exercise with us today. I think it's important.
No,
Yeah, you bet.
absolutely.
Thank you. We should ask Jeff who was involved. I presume he had some staff and members involved, and I think we should recognize those folks.
Well, it's, yeah, every year I get support from Jackie in finance and Marie George in engineering to help put these reports together. We do these reports every year. We've done these reports. I mean, you look at my folder, I forget how far back, I can tell you how far back these reports go. I have it back to 2000. So we do these reports. It was Councilmember Hymes's request to have these brought to the Public Works Committee on one of his first years here. So he said, hey, how can we, or he was wondering if we did this. And I said, oh yeah, we do that. And he said, well, let's talk about that. So it's been my goal to have it brought forward to Public Works Committee in the first quarter of every year so that you can see what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the staff who works on this, puts it together, and it's Councilmember Hymes who requested that we come to the Public Works Committee every year.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for having that here, and thanks for all the staff who work on it too.
Yes,
Thank you.
great.
And thank you, Bob, for bringing it up to
Yeah,
our attention.
Thank you.
yeah. Scrooge does a good job.
I wasn't going to say anything, but you two remind me of those characters on Sesame Street. Sorry, I'm not gonna see who they were. Lovable.
Well,
lovable characters.
as long as it's not Dr. Seuss, we're okay.
With apologies to our audience members.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So I see we have Ms. Jackson here now. So do you want to go back to item number 1?
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. So then I guess we will talk about the art installation at Harborview Drive, Stinson Avenue.
I am so sorry. I had 3:30 written down in my agenda book, and that's all I can say. It must be spring is coming and my brain is just sort of done with winter. Do you have any questions? Well, let me give you a little bit of information on this. This is a project that we're very excited about in the Arts Commission. We're always excited about any art project. And thank you very much for all your support always. The project came to us by way of Mr. Langhelm in Public Works, who let us know that there is this new roundabout going in someday at the intersection of Pioneer and Soundview Drive. And perhaps it would be a nice place to put some sort of a little artistic embellishment in the sidewalk.
Stinson and Harborview.
It's at the intersection of Harborview Drive and Stinson.
And Stinson, thank you. I'm sorry. Springtime. At any rate, we always welcome an opportunity to put public art somewhere, or bring music or poetry or whatever to Gig Harbor. So we have been exploring possible solutions to that. Jeff was kind enough to allocate for us a modest budget for that, which will probably supplement from our Arts Commission Public Art Fund. But at this point, all we've done is work closely with Jeff to allocate a specific section of sidewalk that won't be interfering with crosswalks or sidewalk traffic flow, pedestrian flow, anything like that. Really, that's as far as we've gotten. We wrote a draft call to art and then realized that the project isn't going to start anytime soon. So that's as far as we've gotten. We do know that one of the steps in our public art installation process for this kind of art is to alert the Public Works Committee, your noble selves, that this is what we'd like to do, and just let you be aware of the project and ask us any questions that we might be able to answer it this time. So there we go.
I
Any
had a
questions?
question. I had a question. I had that layout on my screen here. And I know I'm on the curve, but I can't figure out where I am on the curve. Yeah, there we go. Is there a landmark there somewhere that I can hang my hat on? That's a landmark that's there today.
Yeah, I'll help you with that. So the water side is here where my cursor is.
Yep.
The tree is right here.
Aha.
These
Okay.
these knockouts in the sidewalk are where the benches are located. So the
Okay.
driveway, it's hard to see, but this is the driveway entrance to Ed and Boat right here.
Okay.
The present driveway.
The future driveway.
Ah,
Present driveway is further north and west.
okay.
So this is right between the driveway to Ed and Boat and the tree along the sidewalk. It's walking up the hill toward the driveway.
Is it the intent that this be visible from the roundabout or from the street?
No,
Okay, so this is strictly a pedestrian type, visitor type art thing.
It's a little surprise for walkers, for pedestrians.
Okay, okay.
Well, is that, what is on the second page of this attachment with all these elevations? What is that?
that's the center line of the sidewalk itself. That was just provided to the Arts Commission. You can ignore those. That was just provided to the Arts Commission. So I could see what it would look like on either side of the sidewalk.
Okay, if you superimpose the actual roundabout on there, where would it kind of line up around the curve there, as far as let's say the tangent point, maybe that's what I should call it, of the radius of the roundabout?
The tangent point would be right here.
About right there. Okay. Okay. And you're thinking of something, like you say, it's something for the pedestrian and the visitor, not for motorists to be gawking at.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that means flush mount?
Yes, we've worked with Jeff and I think we're real clear on ADA requirements, that it has to be, it can't be anything that would someone might stub a toe on, or could collect water or mud, would have to be very easily passed over by wheelchairs or people with walkers. So it would be flush with the sidewalk.
Okay.
So it's part of the sidewalk.
Yes, it's something that will be, well, it might not be actually part of the concrete. We don't know yet.
But people will be walking on it. If you're walking on the sidewalk, you will walk over the art.
Okay.
How much money did you allocate for this, Jeff?
I forget if it was $10,000 or $15,000. I forget.
15?
This is exciting, isn't it, to see what you come up with, or when you go out for a call for art, to see what artists envision for this spot.
We have, the Arts Commission did some brainstorming on what we might like to see there. And one thing that really intrigues us would be some kind of visual interpretation of the marine life, marine flora and fauna that are found in the harbor. So it might be a sea star, or something that depicts an anemone, or a little crab, the shape of a little crab, something like that. But things that are common to the waters of Gig Harbor. Any other questions?
No.
When do you
We're-
think you'll
we're-
go out for a call for art? When would that happen?
Well, that depends entirely on the project construction schedule. And I understand that that might be delayed a little bit, Jeff, from what we had originally planned.
Yeah, I just gave a report to council last night that because of a sewer issue, emergency replacement, we have to do the sewer main through this intersection. We're not for sure yet, but worst case scenario is we will have the intersection improvements constructed in spring of 2022. We'll know more in about a month and a half.
So our timeline is entirely dependent on Jeff's timeline. And we aren't going to do anything until we have a firm or a firmer, I should say, idea from Public Works about what the actual construction of the sidewalk schedule is. Because we want to give artists plenty of time to think about that space, maybe come visit, respond to the call, and then for us as the Arts Commission to go over all the, review all the applications and then make our selection. We would have a timeline tentatively built into that call for art. But we always have to remind the artist that everything is subject to council approval. So once we get our recommendation, we bring that forth to probably to this committee and certainly ultimately to council.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, great, thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay, Bob, or Jeff, I guess that will take us to item number 3.
I think the agenda item number 3 was removed from the agenda, the build update.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry, that version got updated, sorry. And it was updated because of the conversation that we had in study session on March 4th.
Okay.
okay, well, I know Councilmember Himes and probably Councilmember Wook has looked at the project schedule. Anything jump out at you, Bob?
Yeah, it grabbed me by the throat. It was interesting called we used to line these up, and you not only took the time spans, but you superimposed the spans for things like design and construction, and you superimposed them and basically went time-wise across the projects that you had at any point in time. And I guess all I can say, this is going to be one whale of a busy year. I counted 15 projects that don't start until after mid-year, but are going to be done by the end of the year, at least per the schedule. That's pretty, that's ambitious, I think.
Well, I don't think so, Bob. I mean, I look at the majority of these. This is mostly consultants doing the work. So the one that we're looking at right now is in City Administrator Larson had brought these to me, and so I've got some stapled copies. Now, are these different tiers?
There should be 2 tiers. Look at the very top, Jim. At the very top, it says right here, 2021 CIP project schedule, first tier projects.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. And then there's another one that just says second tier. We didn't distribute the 3rd and 4th tier because they were too far in the future. I didn't want to worry about those right now.
Yeah.
Again, just a reminder, first tier are the ones we're actively working on. Second tier are the ones that are coming up. And we've actually transitioned now. I need to move at least one project off of the first tier because we're completed, and move a couple projects from second tier into first tier. And I also need to find a way to highlight this. I didn't have the chance to get into Microsoft Project Now to see if I can highlight it, because I want to be able to let the committee know and council know which projects have been changed from the previous month, because it's overwhelming and I don't expect council to have the previous month's version there and do a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the chance to figure out how to highlight these or footnote them to let everybody know which items or which tasks have changed from the previous version. But I do need to do that, and I hope to do that the next time we meet.
So I'm looking at the second tier. Obviously, I'm looking at the pedestrian crosswalk improvements in Gig Harbor North. And the design has started. Is that what I'm seeing?
Well, yes, it has, and that's one of the projects that needs to be moved into the first tier. You've caught me on that one. That and the annual pavement maintenance, Murphy's Landing Marina, and let me stop sharing this so we can all look at the same page here. So now I'm on second tier projects. I'm going to go to page 2 of second tier projects. Annual pavement maintenance, that has begun, though it's barely begun, but it has begun. Pedestrian crosswalks, the consultant has already been out and the surveyors have been out on site. So that has begun. That needs to be moved into first tier. And the Murphy's Landing Marina navigation channel. We have a draft agreement now from the city attorney's office that we need to review. And so that should be moved into the first tier. But again, I have not had the opportunity to reorganize these tables because it's the way we have it set out. And when we broke it into tiered projects, we have separate files. And so I have to do a lot of copying and pasting and reformatting. So,
Jeff,
yes,
on this Murphy's Landing navigation channel,
yes,
you know, I mean, obviously we all know this goes back over a year now. So
yeah,
we were going to permit it and they were going to do the construction.
correct.
Now, are you telling me that it's gonna, this design and permitting, I don't know what kind of design they need to do. I mean, they're coming in and they're gonna be dredging out material. So why is this projected out until 2022?
Permitting. Yeah, the design is easy. We just have to, the design is this. What equipment are you going to do? What's the current elevation that you're going to start dredging? What's the final elevation? And how much volume is that? And when you dredge it, where's that soil or that substrate going to go? That's essentially the design. But the permitting is going to take the longest time through the Army Corps. That's why we lump design and permitting together. But that's going to take the longest time. Is that I'm guessing it's going to take well over a year to have all of the approvals to have that. If it's shorter than that, great. But I'm trying to be realistic.
And what is the cost for this consultant?
I forget the amount. I think we had like $35,000 or $40,000 in the budget. I'll pull that while we're talking here. It's like, again, it's the environmental work that's going to cost us the money. The design, again, is simple. And these consultants who do this, they do dredging operations routinely. So. $35,000 in the budget.
What is the 2021 generator replacement?
Let me look. It's in the budget. Let me look. It has to do with. Yeah, just a second. It's in the wastewater capital budget, item 6. Replace generators at lift station 2A, Vogue View platform, and lift station 11, Woodland Creek subdivision, 48th Street and 48th Street and 38th Avenue. So we have 2 lift stations that need generator replacements, and that's what that is.
I'm surprised I didn't ask these questions during the budget. I mean, these are, I'm assuming these are backup generators.
They are backup generators, yeah. And it's budgeted $82,000.
Well, I mean, the amount of hours that gets put on these has got to be fairly small.
Yes, I can't imagine these generators have very many hours on them, but they're so old, they're degraded to a point where they're not reliable. I mean, this is, now I have to say, these generators are 2 generators that are out in the elements. This is one reason why we try and have these dry prime diesel pumps instead of generators now, and we have them inside facilities. These generators that are outside are susceptible to rodents and everything else and the elements. When they're inside, they're protected from that. And when they're dry prime diesels, they don't have electrical components necessarily, just the alternator that's on the motor. A generator has, as you know, a whole diesel motor associated with it and a whole electrical generation system. And so you have to maintain 2 different sets of equipment in one unit. And dry prime diesel pumps, you have a pump and a diesel motor, and that's it. So this is where Daryl and I agree that is what in these 2 locations we're not able to retrofit the lift station to have a dry prime diesel pump. So we just, when the generator starts to show its age and is no longer reliable, then we have to replace the generator instead of getting a dry prime diesel pump.
Why are we not able to retrofit?
Because the way that the dry prime diesel pump has to connect to the wet well itself. And so let's say Bogue View platform, Councilman Wook, I'm not sure, have you seen where that generator sits at the Bogue View platform? It's underneath the decking at the water's edge.
Okay, yes.
You
yes.
probably, yeah. And if you go down below on the beach side
Yeah.
of you turn around and look, you'll see where that generator is tucked into the corner. In order to get that generator out and put in a dry prime diesel pump there, we would have to rip the Vogue View platform apart and core in through the existing wet well. And the cost just isn't worth it, really. And lift station 11, it has to do with cost. In order to switch everything around and get a dry prime diesel pump in there, it's much less expensive just to replace the generator than it is to pull out the generator and put in a dry prime diesel pump. But
Okay.
when you see things like lift station 12, lift station 6, that's what we're doing. We're spending a lot more money, as Councilmember Franich has reminded me, to do these lift station upgrades. And this is one of the costs of doing that, is we've got these dry prime diesel pumps that provide us with much more reliability and efficiencies, but it costs money to get it set up.
And those will last longer.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
So at this point, the lines that you're showing on here, the timing you're showing on here is essentially contained. In other words, when you look at your manpower on board and that you have contracted out, this is contained.
Yes, and let me just use one thing right here. So annual pavement maintenance. We were originally supposed to be out to bid an award for this in May, but with the resignation of Josh Gilchrist, we pushed this out another month. So Josh was making progress on this, but now that he's left or is leaving, his last day is Thursday, we've had to pause, hand it off to the consultant, and that handing off the consultant is actually going to happen, I think, sometime this week. So then the consultant has to get on board and they'll jump in. So I've between Trent and I, we've incorporated that delay into this schedule you see today. And this same thing happened with, where was it here? There was one other project I'd highlighted. Oh, the emergency water intertie on Canterwood Boulevard. That was deferred. That's in the tier 1. Sorry, I'm looking at the paper versions in front of me. But on tier one, water project, emergency water in Counter Boulevard, that was pushed out a month because of Josh Gilchrist's departure, and we're gonna have to find a consultant to do that work. So I think, does that answer your question, Councilor Himes? I did.
Yeah, that answers it. I assume that there's a permanent replacement somewhere in the pipeline for the engineer that you lost. He was a permanent engineer, correct?
He was, yeah. Yes, we've had discussions with HR. We have a draft version of the job description. I don't think it's posted yet. But it's out of the, as you know, HR has quite a few job postings that they're trying to manage right now. And when we had a discussion internally the other day, this position was in the list of high priority positions to get posted.
Okay. Yeah, that's, I can't think of anybody's shop who's stretched as thin as yours, to be quite honest.
Right.
So I would, anything that we can do to assist in any way to replace a for real full-time employee like quickly, I think would definitely be in order.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm working with Bob to make sure that we just get this done as expeditiously as possible. And I think that when we made the announcement that Josh Gilchrist was leaving us, we said that we're going to be having higher than expected on-call engineering services for this year. And so we'll come back to you before we exceed that, but we allocated, I think, $250,000 not to exceed, and I'm sure we're going to exceed that, but we'll get that ironed out soon and let you know as a full council.
Okay. Yeah, so similar to our discussion on the park impact fees thing. I've gone back and looked over the last year or so at the public works workloads issues called What's in the Hopper and What's Happening. And boy, I'll tell you, these bolts out of the blue are just killers, like the sinking sewer line down there. And they're things that you can't defer. You got to do something fast, okay? And I'm almost to the point there needs to be some way, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but some way to deal with that. And just say it's probably going to happen, right? Because by the way, I went back over the years. And it's happening. It happens every year, Paul. And it's either something in water or sewer. Those are the big two. Parks a little bit less, but they're there. And transportation, same thing. There's some there that things just happen. And if there's any way that we can think ahead on that, because it's just deadly. When something like that happens, you got to respond. You have no choice, and you're probably going to respond with probably some of your best people to make sure that it does get fixed, whatever it is. Okay.
Right.
So that's a toughie. That's a toughie.
Yeah.
But there has to be some way to deal with that.
Yeah. Well, right now, what Dave Rodenbach has us doing during the budget sessions is to have at least 60 days worth of operating revenues in the budget at all times, or in the fund at all times, so that if we have these types of issues, we've got money sitting there on an emergency basis to grab. It doesn't keep us ahead of the game to reduce the number of emergencies, but at least it gives us a way to pay for it if we have them. It's the capital planning that is so critical in trying to keep us ahead of the game when it comes to reducing the number of emergencies that we have.
Okay. So food for thought.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that, does anybody else have any? Oh, go ahead, Maureen.
I think we might have public comment.
Oh, yes.
Good.
Public. Is there anybody?
Yes, I have a hand raised, so I'm going to promote
Okay,
to panelist
very good.
if I can. Okay, here we go. Okay.
All right. Looks like caller with the last four digits, 3874.
Yes, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes, Councilman France, how are you doing today, sir?
very good, thank you. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, Thomas Wick, Hunt Street Northwest here in Gig Harbor.
Very good. You have,
I'd like to, I know I got 3 minutes, right? That's the rule,
yes, sir.
correct?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So thank you. What I'd like to talk about this evening, and I'm really glad that it's Councilman Himes and Councilman Wook and you, Mr. Franich, Councilman Franich, as well as Mr. Langhelm, because you guys are really the key players I wanted to address this public comment to. I want to bring your attention to something, because what I'm concerned about is that I don't want there to be a scenario down the road where everyone says we didn't know, because this evening, I'm letting you know. And I'd like you, the committee, to look up the DNR AFN number 2415710. And that was a forest practice application that was made on the property to the west of us.
Could you
And,
repeat that one more time, please?
Yes, it's AFN number 2415710.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. What I wanted to bring to your attention on the questionnaire, that they use to determine whether the water is fish or non-fish. And if it's fish, as everybody knows, they're on the endangered species list, and the Endangered Species Act and forest practice restrictions apply. So I just wanted to review question number 4 very quickly. It's a 2-part question. It's number 4, and you can look this document up. It's available online. It says, is the average stream width 2 feet or wider? And is the average stream gradient less than or equal to 16%? And it says, if you check yes, it says type F water, F standing for fish, and it tells you to stop. Now, I don't know what that means, stop. Obviously, it tells you to stop, I think, with completing the questionnaire, but I don't know what that means. Does it mean you can't engage in forest practices because it's a stream, a salmon-bearing stream, or a fish stream? So anyway, this just very recently got posted. Pierce County posted this document on their GIS map, and it's associated with the neighboring parcel to the west of us. And so based on this questionnaire, the stream that started and originated within the Scansey Avenue drainage basin was way less than 16 degrees downhill gradient and far greater than 2 feet in width, as is the stream that comes onto our parcel and crosses my parcel. So what I wanted to bring to the you guys' attention is, as you know, we don't have a drainage ditch, and I know that's I've repeatedly told everybody that. And so my concern is, were forest practices adhered to within the Scansey drainage basin, given the same stream that's downstream from us is the same stream that originates from within the Scansey Avenue drainage basin? So, and the other thing I was hoping that you guys could possibly look into, and I haven't seen or heard any discussion on this issue, but where you've got City of Gig Harbor is doing build out development, and they're discharging storm onto unincorporated Pierce County. And I've asked for this discussion to happen in some form so that what happened to us doesn't happen to others. And I'm unaware of any discussion in any meeting or any forum that would prevent what happened to us to other people, where whether it was, I'm assuming it was unintentional, because somebody obviously assumed we had a drainage ditch and we didn't. But my hope is there would be some process in place going forward.
Oh, okay. If you could wrap it up, please.
Okay. No, I was just asking you guys if you could please look into that, and if you could bring that up and maybe discuss it briefly at the next city council meeting. I would very much appreciate it. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody else that's I see somebody's hand. I see, okay, that hand's down, so I don't see any other hands up on the attendees.
No more hands.
Does any of the council members have anything further to add?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Need a, thank you, staff. We'll need a motion.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
can I, as part of the announcement of the upcoming meeting for April 13th, can I bring up that draft agenda right now? I want to talk with the Public Works Committee about that just real quick.
Sure.
Okay, let me share what I have. This is the draft that Marine just put together.
Yeah. Do you have it? I have it if you need it.
I've got it right here.
Okay, great.
Okay, can all of you see my screen now?
Yeah,
Yeah, can you make it a little bigger?
it's hard to see.
How's that?
That's
A
better.
little better.
Okay, so the key is here, right now we have for the April 13th meeting, we have pavement rating review, system review with Trent Ward. Just to go over how we did our pavement ratings and what we're gonna be doing for pavement ratings in time for next year's budget. Here's the Murphy's Landing Marina Navigation Channel draft agreement we hope to have to you in April. Water franchise agreements, just a general discussion that we are getting inquiries of water franchise agreements and how the city might want to proceed with them. We don't have to have water franchise agreements, but it's strongly encouraged. We don't have any now. And then lastly, Peninsula Light franchise agreement. That one's totally dependent on whether or not we get a response back from Peninsula Light Company on the draft that we've provided them. I just want to bring this up to you to say that right now, if we have all four of those items, this is going to be much longer than a 1 hour meeting. And we'll keep you up to speed, Mo can, on where we are. But even if Penn Light franchise agreements comes off, those first three items will probably take an hour.
I understand. That's fine. I don't mind an hour and a half meeting or 2 hours or whatever we need to spend. I'd be real looking forward to that discussion on item number 1, because, you know, I've got last year's pavement ratings and the numbers just don't seem to add up. And I'm hoping that I can drive around with Councilmember Himes sometime between now and then and take a look at some of these roads, because there's a lot that were 80 and 100 that be curious to see how that came out that way. I don't think the Murphy's Landing that's just looks like it's going to be to approve a contract with a consultant.
No, that's the draft agreement that we have to put together, that essentially we need, the city and Murphy's Landing need to agree what each person's role or each entity's role is going to be. And before we proceed forward, all we have is a verbal agreement with Murphy's Landing. We need something in writing, and that's what this draft agreement is.
Oh, wow. I thought that we had got to that point over a year ago with them as far as the arrangement.
It was only verbal. At that time, we got a verbal arrangement, and then we never proceeded with getting the formal written agreement in place.
Wow. Okay. Have you crafted that agreement?
Yes, we have a draft from the city attorney's office. Both Trent Ward and I need to review it and provide any comments back before it gets distributed for the Public Works Committee to review.
But the owners of the various owners of Murphy's Landing, have they seen it?
No, we were going to bring it to the Public Works Committee before we brought it to the various owners of Murphy's Landing.
Okay.
The schedule was bring it to Public Works Committee, get comments there, and then hand it over to Murphy's Landing, get any comments, and then bring it back to full council at that point.
Okay. And under these water franchise agreement, are you talking about, you know, like Rainier Water, Washington Water, or are you talking about
That's exactly,
franchising city water?
I'm talking about all water purveyors in the city that are non-city of Gig Harbor water purveyors. Stroh's, Rainier, Washington, all those, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I won't put it on this meeting then, but I would like to, at the next I guess it would be the May meeting, I would like this committee to have a discussion and get some staff input on how we can go about coming up with a standard pump station design. So every time we are doing a pump station, we don't have to go out for a consultant to design a new lift station each time if we had an off the shelf. So,
Okay, be happy to do that. We have one and it looks a lot like lift station 21 at the corner of Hunt and Scansey.
I'll be looking forward to that discussion. All right.
So
Well,
I'd
thank
like
you.
to bring up one thing as a point of order. I think we're governed by OPMA rules and regulations in this committee, and for more than one committee member to meet with another committee member, it violates OPMA rules and regulations. So I have concerns about two members meeting together to discuss things that violates OPMA.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Welcome.
All right. If there's anything further, Jeff?
No, nothing for me.
All right. Need a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you all.
Great.
Thank you. Take care.